All right. Peace, family. Peace. It's Brother Yosef here. Um, I want to share a story. I haven't shared a spiritual story in a while, but this one last night, it's not a long story, but I want to share it with you guys because it was some very interesting things I learned and some very interesting things that happened that I was blown away with. You see what I'm saying? Um, so, I'm trying to figure out how I should start. So this is a story about the god Ogun, right? For those of you who know me, you guys know that my spiritual bloodline comes from the gods of war. Sometimes, and I've told you guys that the gods when there's gods of war, they're all usually the same person, but they manifest themselves in different ways. You know what I'm saying? So Heru is a god of war. Lord Indra is a god of war. Ogun is a god of war, um, and so on and so on. Who else? Anhar is a god of war. Ares is a god of war, right? You have all these gods of war, right? And sometimes they may manifest to you in a way that you're not used to, right? Like I just recently had the Buddha coming to me almost in the same energy as my spiritual father, one of the Buddhas who I revealed to you guys. And this energy was very, I was like, man, this is different. So I had a spiritual father experience with Lord Ogun, Lord Ogun, right? Last night in my dreams. So last night, family, this whole week I've been having trouble go to sleep at night. And then in the morning I get really tired. I want to take a nap and stuff like that. But for some reason, family, last night I was really tired. I went to sleep, no problem. Immediately, when I opened my eyes, I was sitting down in a chair in some type of courtroom, this big hall, right? And as I looked around, it looked like a bunch of African people were there. I remember literally people walking past me smelling like they smell good. The men, the women, everybody smelled great. And they had on like different tribal type of, African, old school African type of wear. And I'm not gonna say who this person is because I haven't told you guys all of my teachers, my spiritual teachers. But I had a spiritual teacher walk up to me and tell me that I was in the hall of Ogun. And it was judgment time. It was judgment, right? And Ogun was handing out judgment. And I'm like, wow, this is, I've never interacted with Ogun, like ever. Like, this is interesting, right? And so he told me that Ogun is a good deity, right? But at the same time, when he punishes people, this is how the spiritual teacher told me, right? He's like he'll eat you alive. Like that's one of the punishments he'll do. Like he'll eat you alive, and I'm like, what? That's kind of but wow, who in the world would do something so bad where the god Ogun would want to do that, right? That's crazy, right? Like just me, like the way I'm thinking, like please, I hope I don't have to see that while I'm sitting here in this dream. So here's the interesting part. I'm so I walk up more towards the front because like I said, I was sitting in the back of the table and I was asleep and I just kind of woke up and I'm like, where am I now? So talking to my teacher, he was there, walked up and we walked past a few people and I'm looking and I was dressed in some type of prince. I guess it was royal attire. That's the best thing I could, you know, look at it as. And there was Ogun handing out judgment. And he was, punishing people, like killing people. Like there was one hitter quitters, hate makers, where somebody's head would explode. I saw him kicking people in my dream. Um, so I'm thinking, like in my mind, like man, he's pissed off about something. Who in the world is going to disrespect? But believe it or not, there's people out here who disrespect the gods all the time, right? And I'm not saying like this is ooh, you're gonna get got. I'm just saying like believe what you want. I'm telling you my experience, right? So I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So all of a sudden, while he's like handing out punishment, he's like literally punching his hand through people's heads. Next, they're like begging, like, please, I apologize. And I'll be honest, all these people looked African, like African people. And like I said, haymakers, one hitter quitters, MMA kicks, like people flying against the wall, breaking their neck. I'm seeing, I'm like, man. So all of a sudden, there appears like it looked like they were beamed down from a ship or something. But there appeared three more gods. It was two men and a woman. And they were gods. I don't know. And they said their names, but I don't remember. They weren't the Orisha. They were some other African deities. And they were dressed like what would look like a very casual, nice dressed person would be dressed. They had on leather jackets, gold necklaces. They had like the haircut with the part in it. I'm like, oh, they sharp. You know what I'm saying? They look sharp. Leather jackets, the nice dress shoes. They looked like they was going to handle business. And they looked like, at the same time, like royalty. This is what I observed. Even the sister was dressed very casual, very nice. They dressed like they were very important people. I don't know what gods these were. But they appeared and, they said, excuse me for the interruption, Lord, I want to say the word Odin, but it's not Odin. But they said, Lord, Ogun, excuse me, Lord Ogun, excuse me for the interruption, but we have justice to hand out as well. And I don't know what some people did, but he snapped his fingers. Certain people appeared, and these gods were able to punish these people once again. One-hitter quitters, punch their hands through people's heads, and knocking people out, killing people like with one punch. But I learned later that these people actually weren't dead. They were living with the pain of having their head punched in, having their foot kicked them into the wall and breaking all their bone. They were living with this pain. That was their punishment. And he allowed these three deities to take out punishment. Even the sister was haymakers, one-hitter quitters, like punching jaws loose. I'm like, oh, I'm sitting there holding my chest like, oh my God, like this is crazy, right? In a weird way, I was entertained by it. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's the God of War inside of me. It was weird. And nobody there was like, oh my God. I think I might have been the only one like, oh, wow, Because you could see the force. Like these weren't regular human punches. These was like, you getting hit by a car going 80 miles an hour. Boom. So when it was all over, Lord Ogun stood up and he looked at me and he waved like, so I followed and there were people following behind me and he looked at me. He was like, are you afraid of me? And I was like, yeah, you didn't just see you punch them people head in like, and he looked at me, he said, my son, if it makes you fear me to hand out justice, he was pretty much telling me like this is his job, like the part of his job. He has to hand out punishment, right? And he was telling me like, if it makes you fear me, he said, son, I'll never do it again. He talked to me with so much like love and compassion. I was kind of shocked by it, right? I was like, wow, okay. He's like, son, I don't want my children to be afraid of me. He was like, if it makes you fear me to watch me punch, watch me harm people or eat people alive, he said, son, I'll never do it again. I don't want my children to be afraid of me. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking at him like, okay, and he's like, walk with me. And as we're walking past, so we're walking out of the court hall, and we're walking down this beautiful hallway made out of like some type of like clay or something like that, but it had like gold edged in the wall and it had no windows. It was like openings in this hallway. And you could look outside and you could see people looking like they were on a like tropical beach. And I was told like this is one of the heavens of Ogun. This is like a heavens, like people who worship him, they go there. Like it's like a heavenly place. And people were there. It's like the people were living in luxury. It's like they were living like in a state of just heaven. It was I remember seeing palm trees. It was tropical. It was like being on a beautiful African island with blue water. It was just gorgeous, y'all. And as we walked further down the hall, I felt myself waking up because one thing I noticed, it was very hard for me to be there. Like I felt pressure. I felt like my consciousness was slipping. And I noticed I was struggling to stay in this state of consciousness. I didn't want to let go because I wanted to see what else there was. But I wanted to share this with you guys. And that's pretty much what happened as we walked down towards this door. The closer we're getting to the door, and he had on his green and white, and just like Ogun colors. And as we're walking close to this door, I kind of woke up. And that was my first experience ever with the God Ogun. And, it was very interesting, family. And I was very surprised at what my teacher told me. And I saw him handing out justice, the God of War. For those who don't know who Ogun is, he's the God of War from the Yoruba pantheon, the Orisha family. And usually he's a quiet guy. You don't hear a lot about him, people talking about him like that. But I had the experience to see him like slender but muscular. Like he looked like he could be an assassin. He looked like you don't want to mess with this guy. And from the way he was knocking heads off, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I thought that was very interesting the way he was doing that, because it's like he handed out justice purposely. It was people standing around. He had servants. He had some really tall people around him and stuff like that, but they weren't handing out justice. He handed out the justice. I thought that was very interesting. And that was my experience with that. I knew I was in some type of heaven. I was in his kingdom or realm or something, I guess, and it was beautiful. When I looked outside, it was like, it looked just like what a heaven would be. The greens were more neon green. The greens were the greenest green you ever saw. You felt the happiness. You felt it was a kingdom situation. It was a kingdom situation. You seen little children playing outside. And, you know, everybody around looked all black. They looked like they was all Africans. But it was, either way, it was a very beautiful scene. And I'm grateful for that experience, y'all. I just wanted to get on here and share that story with you guys. I know I haven't shared a story with you guys a lot lately. I had a lot of UFO dreams, but some dreams and some experiences I have in the astral plane, I just feel like I need to share them. And I want to share that one with you guys. I didn't want to forget that one. All right, so it's documented now. I want to share you guys my experience with Ogun. I hope you guys enjoyed the story, family. All right, tonight I'll be on YouTube around 7:30 p.m. Central Time. I'm going to be giving out some books, guys. So you guys can check those out. All right. And I will get with you guys soon. Peace, family.